Now we will study another contemporary civilization of the ancient world, that is Egyptian civilization, which is also called the gift of the Nile. Why Egyptian civilization or why Egypt is called the gift of the Nile, we will study here. Egypt is a large country located in the eastern part of the Sahara Desert in North Africa. We can see here in this map Egypt. It is located in Sahara Desert. It is located in the eastern part of Sahara Desert. This green color region, it is Egypt. So we came to know here that Egypt is located in the Sahara Desert in North Africa. Except for narrow strip of fertile and stretching along the banks of the river Nile, the rest of the country is desert. So only a little portion of Egypt is fertile. Rest entire country is a desert because it is situated in Sahara Desert. So except for the narrow strip, only very thin strip of fertile and stretching region that is along the bank of river Nile, that is fertile. Rest it is completely desert. The Nile is thus nature's great boon to Egypt. So that is why it is called the gift of the Nile, because Nile is a great boon, or you can say a great gift to Egypt. With the help of canals, dikes and reservoirs, these dikes are actually embankments, or you can say some kind of boundaries constructed to prevent the region from flooding or to protect the region from frequent flooding. So in rivers these dikes are built so that the flooding situation is prevented, or the region is protected from floods. So with the help of canals, dikes and reservoirs all along the course of the river, Egypt has developed an excellent agriculture. So because of this kind of constructions, Egypt is now completely cultivable land. Egypt has developed an excellent agriculture. That is why Egypt is called the gift of the Nile, because being a desert, it is cultivable only because of river Nile. The Nile has also served as a national highway for water transport. So Nile has not only made Egypt a cultivable land, but it also serves as a national highway for water transport. It is used like means of transport for water transport. Because of the river, Egypt became the birthplace of world's oldest civilization. So Egypt being a desert, it is a desert, still it is the birthplace of one of the world's oldest civilization, and it is possible only because of river Nile. Rightly the Egypt was called the gift of the Nile. So that is why truly it is told that Egypt is the gift of Nile. If Nile would not have been there, Egypt would not give birth to the world's oldest civilization. And because of river Nile, Egypt is cultivable land. Egypt has become a national highway. The Nile has made the national highway for water transport, and it has also made Egypt the birthplace of world's oldest civilization. So that is why the Romans and the Greeks called Egypt as the gift of the Nile. The civilization of Egypt developed during 3000 to 2000 BC. So this is the lifespan of Egyptian civilization. And during the Middle Kingdom, that is 2007 to 1750 BC, but in the 18th century BC, Egypt was overrun by invaders called Hyksos. So this the period of the Middle Kingdom, in the Egyptian civilization was 2000 to 1750 BC. But during the 18th century, the Egyptian empire was overrun, means it was attacked by these Hyksos. They were the invaders who attacked. Invader means the attackers who invaded Egypt. They were the Hyksos. They ruled over Egypt for a short period, and soon the Egyptian kings regained their land. So for a short period of time, these Hyksos, they started ruling the Egyptian land, but soon after that, the Egyptian kings, they regained their land. Regained means they got back their land from the Hyksos, and again Egyptian empire started in Egypt. So here is a new word, dikes, an embankment constructed to prevent flooding. This is the definition of dikes. The Egyptian society. Now we will study what kind of society was Egypt. So there were 4 clear-cut classes in Egyptian society. Already we studied in Mesopotamian society, there were 3 classes, but in Egyptian society there were 4 classes. But it was an integrated society. Integrated society means it was a combined society. People lived together. It was not disintegrated, means it was not a broken society, but it was an integrated society, means people lived together there. The highest in the rank was the king, and the king in Egypt, he was called a pharaoh. He was not called a king. This is a term that was used for Egyptian king. It is very important. The Egyptian kings, they were called Pharaoh. He had absolute powers. All the powers laid in his hands, in the hands of the Pharaoh. His word was law. Whatever he told, that was the law. None could disobey him. All land belonged to him. All the land in Egypt belonged to the Pharaoh. His family members also enjoyed the highest status. So this was the first class, that was the ruling class or the Pharaoh. Then comes the next class. Next to Pharaoh and his own family, there came the nobility. This is the second class people. They were the nobility, the priestly class and the officials. Most of the government officials belong to this class. So the officials who worked with the Pharaoh or who helped the Pharaoh in the administration, so they belong to the second class. So that is why here it is written that the second class were mostly government officials. The persons belonging to this class also led a very comfortable life. They were considered close to the king and his family, since they helped the king, helped the Pharaoh or the king in the administrative purpose. So they were close to the king as well as king's family. Then the third class were they were the farmers, cultivators, craftsmen and artisans. So these were the third class people. They lived in villages and had a normally good life. So they had a normal self-sufficient life. They were satisfied with their lifestyle. This was the third class. Then the fourth class or the lowest class, you can say, the lowest in the social system, were the slaves. Most of them were prisoners of the war. Prisoners of the war means the group that was defeated. Those people were held as or captured as prisoners, and these prisoners, they were treated as slaves. So they were the prisoners of war. They did all sorts of odd jobs for their masters, to whom, since they were slaves, so they obviously did all sorts of jobs for their masters to whom they were attached. Majority of these people lived in misery and poverty. In Mesopotamian civilization, we studied that there was slavery. Slavery existed, but the slaves were not treated harshly. But in Egyptian civilization, the slaves were treated harshly. They lived a very misery and poor condition. Poverty means very poor condition. Then Egyptian women enjoyed a good status in society, like Mesopotamian civilization. Egyptian women also were given a good status in the society, a high status in the society. They could own and inherit property. They had the right to inherit property. They were even permitted to ascend the throne. The women of Egyptian society, they got such a good position. They got so much respect, a high status in the society, that they even had the right to ascend the throne. Ascend the throne means they can become queen. Like the kings, they ascend the throne, they rule the empire. So the women also had the right to ascend the throne, to take the throne, to become the queen. So Queen Hatshepsut was the first to ascend the throne. So she was the first queen who became the queen of Egypt. Queen Hatshepsut was the first woman in Egypt to ascend the throne. Then occupations and crafts. So what was the economic condition in Egyptian civilization? Agriculture was the main occupation of the ancient Egyptians. For its success, they had to control the flood waters. Already we have studied here that how they control the flood water by building dikes, canals, dikes and reservoirs. So they that was the first purpose they required to do agriculture, because if flood water comes frequently, then obviously the crops will be wasted, the crops will be destroyed. So that is why for the success of agriculture, first they had to control the flood water of the Nile and use it according to their need. The water they will use according to their own need. The amount of water they require according to their own need, that much only they will use. So their purpose was to control the flood water. So the engineers and mathematicians of Egypt of those days dug canals, made reservoirs to store water, and dikes, that is dams, to control its flow. So that is why the engineers and mathematicians of Egypt, they constructed dikes, canals and reservoirs for this purpose. What purpose? For controlling the flood water. So after this is done, now Egypt is a completely cultivable land, and that is why the crops that are grown were wheat, barley, millet, flax, cotton. Flax is a kind of seed, it is brown colored kind of seed. Cotton and fruits like apples, dates, peaches and figs, as well as vegetables. So along with agriculture, they also domesticated animals such as cows, pigs, sheep, goats, donkeys and camels, and birds and such as doves and geese. Horse was used by them for drawing the chariots. Chariots are the rath. In Hindi we say them rath. So the horses were used to draw these chariots during war and peace. Then there were craftsmen also, like other civilizations in the Mesopotamian civilization. Egyptian civilization also had craftsmen like pottery, spinning and weaving flax. Flax is a kind of fiber. Then cloth making, glassware, jewelry making, carving on ivory and wood, furniture making, boat building and paper making were quite well developed in Egypt of those days. So these were the craftsmanship or the crafts that existed in Egypt along with agriculture and domestication of animals. Then their trade and commerce. So trade and commerce were also in the hands of the pharaoh. The pharaoh also had the right. Pharaoh, already we have studied the king of Egypt. He is called pharaoh. So the pharaoh had the right in this trade and commerce, and his nobles. They exported cloth. Exported means sending to other countries or other places. So they exported cloth, jewelry, glassware, etc. and imported. Imported means bringing to their own country from other countries. What they used to import, that is gold, ivory and other items of luxury like oil, some luxurious items like oils, perfume, silver and timber. So these were the items of export and import. Then internal transport was through boats and barges. Internal transport means transport within that particular territory, not going outside in any country but within that particular territory. So the internal transport was through boats and barges. Barges were kind of boats or ships, you can say, along the Nile and the canals. Donkeys and camels were used for this purpose on land. So if transport was done through Nile, then boats and barges were used, and if transport was done on land, then donkeys and camels were used.